Hello and welcome to HCD robustness test meeting. Today is September 25th, and we have our agenda. Let me copy the template. And no questions that unanswered that I see. That's good. If you still have questions, please voice them out. There is no problem. We can go through them. I looked through earlier. I don't think there are any new issues. Last one I think I discussed is about the serializable issue with Go client. So I think this there's some progress there and done by LavaCat currently, and discussion between Benjamin or with Benjamin. What else? There are a couple of failures on the pro side. So if we look at just follow the test grid links, look at the last 2 weeks, we can maybe quickly skim through if there's any new failures. And unfortunately, last time we met there were multiple failures, and we classified them, but unfortunately it's hard to follow up. So I think most of them should be still are still they were not addressed. I don't know, maybe I will start. Better way to track it is to start filing issues for them. Maybe that's a better, more actionable, so people can, not necessarily people that attend the meeting, but other people can see the issue being opened. So maybe at the end of the meeting, if we have time, I will go through and create issues for all action items that we had, and maybe that's a good idea or a better idea to follow up. What happened here? That's last week. Oh, we don't have still meeting recording. So no to do. So looking at the pro, maybe to date meeting. Okay. And here we can just making this one to fixing the cleaning up the template so it's clear what we are doing. Yeah, so looking at the failures first, I think I opened this one. We have one failed test with the QPS. So, and there are two failures. So there's second failure with black holing traffic. There a failure log. Failed QPS. I'm really bummed out about fact that this started. This is unanswered. Oh, my laptop is getting slower. So we have 2 times low QPS. On the second, there is progress notifications and non-empty database at the start. So this means something else failed. Maybe here is let's note this, that there are two failures. One is one indicate one is the problem with log. I think the problem with logs. So what to one or progress notification is tricky case, but because it's whether it happens or not, it's sometimes it is a problem, but sometimes it's just a red herring, some other failure, and that's maybe that's a thing to consider when. So there are two approaches to tests. There is one or the traditional like testing. I know in different languages than Golang. I was used to more assertions and like you fail on first assertion, and the Golang more way is let's report all the failures and have them permissive and everything is okay. I mean the test reports all the possible failures, all the reports, so we can error multiple times and you will get all the errors. This problems it creates problems. What happens if there is dependency between those two errors? Which should you debug? Or if you know the dependency, you know which one debug. But if you don't know dependency, you don't know what to debug. So maybe so for me it makes me thinking maybe we should not report prog failures like progress notify if test already failed. So for me, it's make me think, like why we should care about progress notification something more important failed. Like we should, like usually our test is ordered from top to bottom, from most important things to from most like primary things like your assumptions, and at the end there are some like you get more and more specific. But if you failed on something early, like why you should care about something that failed at the end? So that's a food for thought. How if we can improve, if that could maybe that could help us improve, or make it more approachable for people that not necessarily know this dependency. So if we look at the more tests or the other test report that was streamed to other target, we have a failure. Yeah, and this is member replace issue. So member replace, and you read the log and it says there is no file, and like who should you really care that there is no file? Like what does it mean? And it sounds it doesn't sound good, or it doesn't feel readable for or approachable. Like you have like 3 different failures, and which should you look at? Like how to fix it, and you need to. And this is like important. Like so the etcd didn't, like after member replaced, the etcd didn't start because member was not ready, and you could then investigate why member was not ready, but you should not care why the file was not there. Here we again have 2 problems. So QPS1 and member replace, and QPS1. So member replace just failed. So we 2 times low. It's, I mean, it's good to track. I don't know if there's better way to track which is the most problematic issue. If there is like low QPS dominates, maybe that's the first thing, like from priority perspective. Or, I mean, at least from my thing, what should I care about to direct contributors at is, or what I should fix first? And I think it mostly depends which error is most annoying. That's where you want to put which error wastes most time for I know for this session, assuming that we could spend it, have more time for in the evening for ourselves, or like make the meeting more effective. because we could do something else, like review the PR you mentioned. So the low QPS becomes the biggest. It's visibly the biggest issue. Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes the lock is very short, sometimes it's very long. That's yeah, and okay, so this not this time it's very clear that the fail point failed because like expected member to be removed is part of member replace or so member and QPS. Maybe question to you, Ahmad. Do you have anything that you're working on, something you would want to work on related to robustness?
Nothing specifically, but thank you. I think we discussed about QPS before, and this the suggestion was to ask from test infra folks about it to provide us some statistics about the container or the job that is running the
Mm-hmm.
test to see if we have problem on CPU or RAM or anything else. But I was very busy. I was also on the vacation the last
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks, and I didn't have time to ask them. But I
Okay.
definitely will ask them this. But for another things, I have no idea. If you
Okay.
can please mention me, or if you have any idea, you can share it with me. I will be happy to work on it.
Okay. So looking at the low QPS, would it be okay for me to create the issue and assign to you?
Of course, of course. If you want, I can do that too. I will create an issue.
Okay. So maybe um, do you have email or how to? I have preference to assign to usually to email because you can get notification or on your inbox, but yeah, we can or, uh, create issue to for is low QPS flags. So that would be low QPS flags. If you're okay, and maybe it doesn't work like this. Sometimes Gmail sometimes works, sometimes doesn't.
I've never saw that
Um,
before.
oh yeah, those are tricky tricks from knowing Google things. Maybe if I do something like this, it will start recognizing your email in my. Oh, okay. it doesn't. Yeah, so I mean, we used to like I can assign it for myself or do something like this. There are a couple of
Maybe
tricks.
you have to work on Google.
Uh, this is my private account, so some like the tricks, but most things work everywhere. So if you're okay, like this should work. So you can assign someone a task. So at least you will have something, and you can then click it and cross it out. You can mark it as resolved. It's it's mostly for you to I don't know, or mostly for us to know, oh, there is an issue, when it's resolved or not, and whether we can follow up and continue discussion. I know here.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a one task. So that would include, to make it clear, it should be a flag. We should it should talk about like options to fix options, as get disk usage, what we discussed before. This that was previously discussed. Consider removing. Okay. Yeah. So if you can just say. Mention like those two points, or I don't know, I can mention in the issue that, oh, like we have flakes and it looks like performance issue. Maybe like here options to do is double check that we health check before starting traffic, whatever. Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay.
Member
For sure, I
replace.
will do that.
Yeah, member replace. I mean, doesn't look as bad now. Like low QPS seems like something we should take a look further. For member replace, there is this. Oh, I don't have Slack opened. Maybe I can open it in another window. So there is this issue, I think, that I'm working, or Henry is working on. I'm just trying to help him on that. I maybe wanted to review it today, but if my laptop allows me. So high level, I don't know if it's. I don't. It doesn't touch the memory place. It's about the black holing traffic. Yeah. Okay, I can't find it on here. Oh, I'm not signed in. Do I have? Yeah, I have. Yeah, I have two-factor authorization just in case. But you haven't seen my password. Yeah, so Henry is working on this issue. Maybe let's review it. So high-level robustness. One of the I know principle for robustness test was to make them let's say a little bit more maintainable, was to not to build a full infrastructure, a separate infrastructure, make it a more generic way, as a more generic way of end-to-end testing. And we have an advanced end-to-end testing framework that we invested a lot of time, and we are maintaining that, allows you to start a process, stop the process, and set up a cluster, destroy the cluster, kill any member, send requests to all cluster or some specific member, kill, I don't know, interrupt the network, inject the fail point, like things like that are needed that we do in tests. So one of the things that we are doing is network blackhauling. And for that, we had for a long time, we had a proxy that allows us to do it, but it had problems that I think Henry found. And the problems were there are two types of traffic via etcd. It was not even clear for me that they exist between peer-to-peer, and some traffic is initiated from one peer to the other by through peer or URL, but some traffic is sent as a reverse stream. I think it goes here. Here, like peer will receive traffic from its peers, initiate connections to its peers. So the problem is insufficient. So yeah, and this is useful. Like for example, when we test, I know the end-to-end test that we want to test, like cluster is still, we have a scenario test cluster, 3-node cluster is still healthy if one member is down, which is a useful thing to test. Yeah. I mean, if we say to users, like if we break you can survive one node down, we want to make sure that we test it and there is no regression, because even though Raft guarantees it, you could technically write etcd in other places that maybe not necessarily uphold this property. So you need to still take the guarantees from the lower level framework like Raft, and if you want to still uphold it, you should still test it at the end, because Raft etcd wraps Raft and then adds a lot of things that might not be necessarily compatible. And we had issues that where we have some implementation of some API was not really using Raft as intended, and we are slowly fixing them. So going into the PR, the second part, this is also used by the robustness test, because we want to test how cluster behaves if you disconnect one of the members, and do we maintain still correctness. So we first test in availability in the end-to-end tests. If we disconnect one of the members, does the cluster still is healthy? And we can send the request to it, and if we disconnect it, will the new member connect correctly and it will work? So we test, availability and quality of latency of the reconnection or whatever. But so that's the end-to-end test. So they're more, specific scenario. And in robustness, we want to test, do we uphold correctness in the same scenario? So run the same scenario and validate correctness. So is the API returning what it's supposed to do when we disconnect the member, and after the member reconnects, is there any period of this member reconnecting that could cause a correctness issue? So in the end-to-end framework, we have this. I can make it bigger again. We have this. What we have here is client transport, and we need to introduce a specific flag for the client transport that will do end-to-end proxy. And so we need to do something specific hacks on the client, which is not great. Sometimes we need to do it. And that allows us to set an environment variable that will influence where etcd connects to. And here we want to change forward proxy, introduce a forward proxy, so that when etcd connects to a peer, it will do it normally until you set the specific flag. And we name it specific that end-to-end tests. We assume people will not by mistake use this environment variable outside of etcd testing. But technically, every etcd is compiled with some of the testing flags that we support. maybe we should, I know if we should consider making them only not compiled in, but that's a separate problem. I think it's worth that you can always test the artifact for if we want to guarantee to the community that this binary is correct, we want to be able to do such some hooks like this. So here is the proxy implementation that we have. Black hole. We simplify the interface. Yeah, that's. Oh, we are, because it's. Yeah, we need to rewrite it to L7, if I understood correctly, which is not great. The proxy to layer 7, because some of the things we cannot do, or we thought we could, but we cannot. Black hole peer, or transaction, or RX, outgoing traffic versus incoming traffic. So I'm high level trying to map what's the difference between old code and new code, because there is a large rewrite and it's not necessarily easy to follow. Yeah, some like hijacked traffic. Uh, mm, transmit. IO copy. Uh, so yeah, it's unfortunate. Like the only thing here is I would maybe would do it multiple phases to make it more readable, but I don't know if that's easy to do for for Henry if he's contributing, because it's hard to follow. If there was a story of how those changes were made, it was lost in the PR, because there are changes everywhere. Like the interface is changing, some methods are going away, some methods are rewritten, some methods have touch different place or use different proper fields.
Yeah, for me is very hard to follow. Maybe we first take a look at the test and see what happens there and go from there. I don't know.
Yeah, the tests are also very complicated. Yeah, like it's. Yeah, so I mean, it's.
The change is too big. I
Yeah,
think
yes, it's normal, like to say like the change is too big. Like it's very like that's the main issue with velocity or of contribution, is like you should, when you send a PR, you should be aware that it will not necessarily time that you put into writing PR can be compared to the time, or it's hard to predict sometimes how much time the person will need to do to review it. And if there is I know, I mean, at least for etcd and some core parts, I am pretty sure I spend more time reviewing it than some people spent on writing changes. Here it's more, there is a more leeway, because it's a it's a testing change. So, okay, if it's testing change, it will not break etcd at least, but we should still be sure that this change doesn't break our testing, because we guarantee that we want to make sure that the proxy works. Okay, so yeah, here the problem is there are 8 commits. It's promising that there is first commit is the fix of the end-to-end test. It's not promising that there is a separate thing to fix lint, because that's oh yeah. Okay. How to fix tests in one move? That's a big PR. This is not necessary. Like, I understand that the method changes name, but it's still proxy. I mean, it's simpler to. So here the interface changes. So maybe we should make a separate rename, or here the name. I mean, it's good to make sure that the name are like accurate, but they can obfuscate a lot, like the change. So here is a separate. Here there is logical separation of the ports. One is for forward proxy. Here is the and here is the test for the proxy. So, and here is more tests for the proxy, and it's 700 line change. This looks different. Like here, the code looks. Oh, because there is dummy server handler. This code looks different. I don't like this. I mean, don't like how. And here is proxy server, and here's the main rewrite. Okay, so that's the first PR. Here is the second PR. Remove pause. That could be, I don't know. Test server pause. So this is the only test for it. So this is a feature that is done. So I think this, for example, this PR could be done independently. Yeah, because it removes a feature that was before, that is not used. Okay, and it's needed for this change, but we could merge it independently. Here is removed packet modification. Okay. Okay, sounds good. But maybe we could make it a separate PR.
Totally agree. Can we ask
Yeah.
him to do that? I mean, that's so much easier to follow that one huge PR. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not the expert here, you are, but that's messages.
Yeah, and here we have rename. We can do that independent. Like I can merge it in. Like those PRs are, like this PR is trivial. It should be merged within I know, seconds of review. I can self-approve it. Like I'm just joking, but for changes like this, that is in tests proxy that is used for testing, I would self-approve as a maintainer this change, because I don't think anyone else cares about like name of the variable. Like the name of variable is clearly better, so no one will care from correctness to that. Will more people would need to review it. So what we have here, this is fixed for the test. This should be merged into the test. Like this is put in. This is a strange location for this comment. I don't know why it's in this order. Was the test written incorrectly before, or is it incorrect now? Like why it's a separate PR? Is it bug in the current test, or is it from that huge change before? So that's. But maybe we don't need to address it now. So remove latency accept. So this is the reason. So this is the changes to the server. Delay accept. Is this used? This is also a feature that is removed. So yeah, that seems like a separate good PR. And here we have simplify tests. We could simplify test before it even. So my high level suggestion would be discuss. So we have what is interesting for us, or what are the removing pause.
The first part is he removed some simplified the test conditions. That was one of them.
Removing packet modification and fixing. Fixing cleaned. That's let's not touch it because I don't know why there is a fixing. Improve naming. Fix this condition and what is that? Remove all latency except. For proxy features seems done independently. Before we fix the black hole. Yeah, so I think this is a minimal like feedback that we can do at this point. It's to make sure that the PR is moving forward. So if this is addressed, then the only like left commit I expect is the main one, and then we can like repeat it and say, oh, like maybe we could simplify this PR, like this commit and this PR. To split, to send, to create a PR for each. merge. Yeah, and that's like that's the, I mean, that's one of the hard things to tack or to understand for maybe from contributor perspective is it's not how big your change is and how success you will get when you merge everything. It is how much we can have your, how quick we can get your codes to start running, to be merged to the main branch, how fast we can chunk it up so that it's not, it's better to or instead of spending a month to iterate and review a PR and maybe at the end, I know, say we give up because it takes long, or we it's, I know it's not the direction we want to go, and it's not the best approach, versus that you split, you take your big change and you split it into smaller chunks that can be merged independently and are still a good improvement, no matter to are still a good improvement. So we can start merging them before. So I know, merge a PR every day, like, or every like couple of days, and then the most important like business logic change, or like the critical change should be at the end, like sometimes a one line change, or sometimes like maybe a little bit bigger, but it should be a minimal change that makes a logic change, and this logic change should be trivial, but it should be it's different type of PR. It's a decision PR. You make a decision to do something differently versus you refactor and add, I know, feature, like you add features that are gated but maybe not enabled by itself. So fact that we are using now L4 proxy and we want to use L7, that doesn't mean that we cannot develop both for some time and like write L7 and next to the L4 proxy, and then at some point decide to, when we are ready, just flip one to the other, because then the change is trivial. Like flipping just one to the other is trivial, and you know that the test passed on and it will be very clear that you will see that before merging the PR, the test pass on the L4 proxy and everything works, and then the change that flips it to L7 is also very minimal and it's just one flip. And when you flip it, it's you can also see the tests looking. So there is no, I know, chances of someone making a mistake because or hiding because a bug, because usually bugs comes when you take two sites from different level of abstractions that are integrated in some way, and the change looks okay from one side and the other side, but sometimes because you merge them at the same time, they could be incorrectly integrated. So if you do those changes independently, you know that one is correct independently of the other, and then showing, like, instead of forcing the reviewers to read in detail your code to understand all those edge cases, you show it by merging, by splitting the code and merging it independently, and you show in CI that it works independently.
Yeah. Totally agree. Just one little quick suggestion. If we can force these big issues or PRs to have a document tool, that will be helpful in the future, because we have maybe we can create bunch of good stuff, bunch of good tests, but without document, it will be harder to maintain in the future.
I mean, it's a question, what's the reason or motivation for the document? Like how we can document it. Do we want to document for users? Do we document for contributors? Do we document it for, future maintainers? Like, what's the import? Like, do we need to document? And there is a difference of documentation of code versus documentations of decisions. So here is like, that's something that maybe it's not clear in the, like, still maybe in etcd project. We have one place that we document our decisions and large things. We migrated to the caps. If you ever contributed to Kubernetes, all the enhancement proposals in Kubernetes that make large changes or non-trivial changes are going through Kubernetes enhancements. And because now we joined the community and now we have a SIG, we also write caps. And even though we are independent from Kubernetes release cycle, and we do it to document our decisions. So, for example, there is document for downgrade, there is document for live Z, ready Z, there is document for feature gating that is not currently, and for interface. So, like if you look at some of them, they document why we like summary, why we do it, and what are the goals, what we are striving. So this is a way to document and drive the consensus. Here, for testing, I mean, the issue is pretty good documentation.
Excuse me. For me personally, the document means, for example, when I was new to the HCD testing, I had a hard time understanding what the serialization is, or what the difference, what the exact difference between serialization and linearization. How did we care about them? How did we test them? It was very hard for me to understand all of this. Maybe now I don't know them 100%, but I have some ideas about them. That was my idea about document, mostly for maintainers or contributors, stuff like that.
So this, I mean, you're touching a little bit of problem that HCD requires a domain-specific knowledge, and here serialization linearization. It's not something that we've like HCD created. It's not something that even like we have. Sometimes I think some of the parts of the code have full understanding of it and like really explicitly show. One of like my approaches was to document it into the terms, and maybe you're right. This or the part that I'm hearing is maybe this not be this should be more in the place that we are like doing the testing and not necessarily in separate thing. So maybe the goal would be to figure out how we can take this and incorporate into the robustness testing, like or the code for the robustness or for the end-to-end testing. So, for example, where is the test that tests linearization? Where is the test that tests serializability? What it is like? What's our approach? So that would be something. For robustness tests too. I think like at least in this part, how to improve. Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's more of a problem that the knowledge is spread around everywhere, but not necessarily where when sometimes someone jumps into the code, they see just that they can find easily the test, or when they find the test, they don't know what it does. Like if you look at robustness tests, maybe or my first, if you have any or first thing I would maybe consider, and you have any suggestion, is to what is missing from this page, like here, and that's definitely worth to fixing. So here in this documentation for the robustness test, I mostly focused on the scenario of how someone can reproduce the issue, confirm that it exists, or flag. So mainly for this meeting, but I don't explain the methodology. Maybe that's the problem. So I can agree that, I mean, I'd be happy to document. Add or document methodology of robust testing in the region. yeah, I mean, if you have any, I don't know how to make it in a more
I mean,
more
we shouldn't.
Mhm.
Excuse me. I mean, we shouldn't. I mean, we don't have to make a decision about this right now. I just in my idea. I mean, we can think about it. Or
Yeah, I mean, what I was going to say, I don't know how to do it in a more democratic way, in a way that, oh, like, I know what's your problem. Maybe we can improve it there, but I don't know. Is it the only problem that people hit? We can, of course. I mean, as long as it's a simple step. So I expect, like, I have started writing this level of documentation, or this is somewhat describing this. So maybe we should move it there. Maybe we should move this there and link it there, because it will be closer to the place that is important. And maybe we could then you in the robustness test, maybe we could, instead of like document it in the test or repeating the same text in everywhere, maybe we can have um, the terms documented in a file next to the README, and have linked everyone to the from README from the test to say, oh, you're looking for serialization. This test serialization. Here's the explanation for that. Maybe we could make it more, create a one source of truth that can be an onboard work more on onboarding, and to create references for this. So if so, I know when you read this, like some scenario about testing linear usability, you can go and look at the terms if you don't understand any terms. So make it more interconnect, like create a source of truth and make it more interconnected. That would be my approach. And of course, I mean, I can, looking at the more democratizing it more, I would maybe want to find a way how we can get such level of feedback more early and more more frequent and more iterative way, because we don't want to like I don't want to make a full effort of fixing all the things, because I don't want to spend. I just want to take this what I have, this, move it to there, and maybe adjust it, and see if this helps it there. Yes, and see it if it helps, and collect and do another iteration.
that makes sense. Okay.
Okay. Okay, I think we reviewed the PR. And we have some action items. I will try to keep it also for me. Yeah, we know what to do, and I know there is no rush. Like, I'm also like not necessarily have time to fix. I took too much. Uh, I think it's based on like best effort. Like this is like best effort. As long as you can help, like you can help, that would be really appreciated. But there is no rush. In some ways, I mean, at some point maybe someone else would be interested in the work. So I usually ask like to be open that, or if you don't have time, to be not like to allow other people to continue what you're doing, and be okay with that. But there is like no pressure that if you're I would prefer for you and to work on something that is interesting for you in moment that you have time to work on it. So because I know it's not necessary that you do it for work, and not everything I do it for work. It's mostly things that interest me and I want to learn more. I mean, uh, so that's how I think it works best.
I can maybe I can add one more thing. From first time I contributed with I helped you contribute with the issue on the Kubernetes, I was very excited to working with you and being here and uh, even helping, or I don't know, I'm doing a little bit too small, but I'm really enjoying being here and um, see what happens.
Yeah, thanks. And I now I remember like working on the or remember that we work also on the consistent tweets. I think there is. I mean, this is the exact area like robustness is that I'm continuously trying to invest or reserve some time to push forward, but don't be like feel restricted. Like there are other issues that are filed, or if you have any interest, I could figure out if there is any work in some areas. I'm slowly opening like Pandora box of doing. There is one person working on performance for etcd or improving memory management for etcd, reducing. So I'm slowly want to bring some people that are passionate about this thing, because I myself don't have, like, I know that you can do that, but I don't have time to like tackle I know performance necessarily at the moment. So if you have anything you're interested in something particular, like feel free to I know to ping on me or on the Slack, either me or on the Seagate CD Slack. We I think we should be open to I know finding work that people are interested in, because like the project should be, we should be getting the velocity of contributions more as we invested a lot of time in testing. Now we should start feeling safe to build on those testing, that we can do some more ambitious work.
Yes, uh, that's the whole point. Yeah, obviously. Let's see
Yeah,
what happens.
right, that's the whole point of testing, that you can break things and know that, and it will warn you that you broke things and you can fix it before you release. Yeah. Okay. I think that's all for today. Thanks. Thanks you for attending, and maybe see you in the next on the next
Thank
meeting.
you.